We're going to wait for a couple of people, more people to jump on, and then we're going to go ahead and start. And now you can see me too. So the shop is open again, and it is open from noon until 5, Tuesday through Saturday, and I am very happy to see people coming in. Okay, we are going to go ahead and start. So tonight we're going to make mayonnaise and we're going to make butter. We're going to make mayonnaise first because my 8-year-old granddaughter Delilah, hello Delilah, is watching. She's going to do a report for her homeschool on eggs because she has chickens. And and you make mayonnaise with eggs. And so we're going to do that one first. I sent a list on there of what it is that you need, and it is a scientific statement for Delilah. Delilah, mayonnaise is an emulsion. This means that the proteins in the egg surrounds and suspends the molecules of the oil that we're going to put in there in the other liquid, which is vinegar and lemon juice. And so that's the, I don't really know exactly what that means, but that's the scientific explanation of mayonnaise. Now, homemade mayonnaise has this particular recipe has no sugar, and it also has no preservatives. So you're going to make it in smaller batches because it's not going to be as long-lived in your refrigerator. The shelf life isn't as long as Best Foods or Kraft or whatever kind of mayonnaise that you're using. It is... you can make it in a blender, what I've got right here, or you can make it beating it by hand. Now, I will tell you that if you try to do that, you need 2 people to make the mayonnaise because the trick to mayonnaise is pouring the oil in very, very slow. The slower you put the oil in, the thicker and whiter it will be. So we are going to put our egg... and we're going to wash these and crush them and give them back to Delilah to give to her chickens so that they have better eggshells and calcium. We are going to put 1 tablespoon of vinegar and 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. Now, I used white vinegar. You can add, for a different taste, you can use any kind of vinegar. You could use the apple cider vinegar that we made last week. You can, or earlier this week. You could use a red wine vinegar. It depends on what you're going to do with the mayonnaise. If you get really fancy, you can put different herbs in here and use them as salad dressings, and that's when you would want to try something different like a red wine vinegar or white wine vinegar instead of the standard vinegar. So there's the vinegar and the lemon juice. And this is my 3/4 teaspoon salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of dried mustard, and a 1/4 teaspoon of paprika. And so that's going in here. And then a little bit of oil. You've got a cup of oil. This is olive oil that I'm using. And so you're just putting a little bit in there, a couple tablespoons. Now, I don't know if you know this because I was very old when I figured it out. The top to the blender, the handle portion of it, comes out. And that's what you want to do, is you want to take that out and then put the blender on. Now, the blender top on. This blender belonged to my grandma. And so it's very old, and I don't use it as often, but because I needed 2 blenders today, we're using this one. Now, the other thing that I brought out was a little lid, because while I'm pouring the oil in, the oil, it's still bouncing out. Not a lot, but enough that it just kind of makes a little bit of a mess. And so I I brought this out so that I could put it on and not make such a big mess. So this one, I'm going to go ahead and this one has a 30-second timer, so we're going to have to continue to do the timing. Now, the other thing that I'm going to tell you is that both of my blenders are loud, so you're probably not going to hear me over the blender. So if you don't hear me talking, that's because the blenders are really loud. Now, when you start pouring the oil in, you want to dribble it in, because that's going to make your mayonnaise whiter and thicker. And you'll get to, if you decide that this is something that you're going to do, you will ultimately, practice makes perfect, and you'll get it to exactly what it is that you want. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and turn this on. Long to pour in 1 cup of oil. I have to tell you, I just got slapped in the face with some mayonnaise. Well, we're down to like a 1/4 cup. Mayonnaise. Now this is the one that I made a little bit earlier today. It is, as you can see, it's got a pretty good consistency. It's a little thinner than what you would have if you bought the stuff from the grocery store. But I will tell you what, it tastes just like mayonnaise. So I won't be buying mayonnaise at the store this next time I go, because I've got 2 containers. So I would say this is probably about a cup between the 2 of them. Or no, it's probably about 2 cups between the 2 of these. So I've got a jar that I'm going to put these in and put them in the refrigerator. And in the refrigerator, it should last for about, 2 or 3 weeks. The thing that you can do with this is you can put herbs in it as well. If you want to use herbs in either the butter or in the mayonnaise, You want to use dried herbs or powdered herbs. You don't want to use fresh because the water content in the fresh herbs will spoil the mayonnaise or the butter faster. Nice and easy. It took, I don't know what time it is, but I'm thinking it probably took about 10 minutes or less to make this. And all it was a cup of oil, an egg, some spices, and a tablespoon of vinegar and lemon juice. Things that I always have here at the house. So I don't have to worry about being without mayonnaise. Okay. So next is butter. Now, butter is more time intensive and work intensive, but it's still a lot of fun. We do, at my house, every Thanksgiving, we make butter for the Thanksgiving table. And anybody who's here, and sometimes it'll be 4 people, and sometimes it'll be 30 people. It depends on the year. Everybody has to shake the butter. It is, it's tradition. It's just reminding us how much work it is for some of our foods to get. Now I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to show you a couple of things that that you can use to make butter. And there we go. So this is a butter churn. Step back a little bit so you can see the whole thing. That is, if you were using that butter churn, you would be using probably, a gallon or a gallon and a half of cream in order to make this worthwhile. This is called the dash, and what it does is, okay, all right, hold on, I have to put the camera down. This is a two-handed job. Okay, so this is the dash. You can see it has a little X on the bottom, and that going up and down in the cream is what makes the butter. It is, that is a lot of work and very hard. Now this one is a hand churn, a crank churn, and you would go ahead and okay, we're already there. You would just put the butter in or the cream in here, and then just go ahead and crank it. Now we used this one last Thanksgiving, and I have to say I was a little bit disappointed in it. It didn't work anywhere near as well as it could have. This is what we typically do. We put the cream inside the mason jar and a clothespin. And the clothespin then becomes the dash that would be in this one. And that's butter right there. So you can see. This is a butter crock. Oh, you put it down. So the butter crock is where you would put your butter after you've made it. Now you can put it in there, you can put it in any kind of a airtight thing. You can, like Tupperware or anything of that nature. Those are all things that you can put your butter in. Or you can just wrap it in parchment or wax paper or anything of that nature. So what you're going to do, we're going to make unsalted butter today. And the reason I'm making unsalted is because I think I'm going to bake with it, and so you bake with unsalted. Typically, people will put salt in their butter to make it taste a little bit better if you're putting it on potatoes or something of that nature. Cream has to have at least 35% fat to make butter. Any whipping cream will have that. A pint of cream will make about 8 ounces of butter and a good sized glass of buttermilk. So the butter that you saw in the jar there was actually about a cup of cream because I used cream that I had already had. Interestingly enough, the buttermilk, as a child, I thought that buttermilk had extra butter in it, but in actuality, it's the opposite. Buttermilk is milk that has the butter taken out of it. So it would be more of like a 2% milk. It makes great pancakes. It makes great bread. So you should keep your buttermilk and either drink it because it's good, or put it into some other dishes. Butter in the refrigerator will last for 3 weeks. In the freezer, it'll last for 3 months, and in the crock on the countertop, it'll last for about a week. So what we're going to do is take the cream. Now, some interesting stuff I've learned through COVID about cream is that you can freeze cream. I don't think I actually ever knew that. And it is, but the thing that you can do, I live alone, and so I don't make giant dinners, but I do like things like soup, and I like cream soup. So I like potato soup, and I like tomato soup and broccoli, and oftentimes corn chowder and clam chowder. Those are kinds of soup that have a milk base. And so when we were looking at not being able to go to the grocery store as often, I thought, well, I need to get some cream so that I can put it in my freezer, and then I can have some cream soups. Now, the thing that you can also do with cream is, if you are going to freeze it, you have to open it up and take a little bit out, because things expand when they're frozen. And if you don't, it is likely that your bottle of cream is going to explode. But you can also put it in an ice cube tray. And by putting it in the ice cube tray, you are, then you only have to take out as much as you need. So I could leave most of it frozen, take out 2 ice cubes, put it in my soup, and boom, I'm done. That is one of the frugal tips for today. Now, when you put your cream in the blender, you don't want it to go over half. So this one actually is a little over a quart, and so the pint is going to be less than half. And again, I'm not putting any salt in it because I am going to bake with it. So put it in here, and you turn it on high, and again, it's going to get loud. Okay, now what I want you to look at, that's whipped cream. Now, if you're going to use whipped cream on a dessert, you would have put sugar in it, and maybe some other kind of flavoring in it. But at this point, this is whipped cream. You don't stop at whipped cream, you keep going. Now, when I was making this earlier today, I didn't really like the way that it turned out in the blender. So what I did was I then took and poured this into the mason jar. Now, what I'm going to do is drain the mason jar, the butter, into a glass, and And then I'm going to put the butter in the bowl. So it took me 10 minutes of shaking this bowl from the whipped cream to butter. And there's the clothespin, if you can see it. So there's the dash. And there's the butter. Now you want to smash the butter a little bit and see if more buttermilk comes out. Because you want it as dry as you can get it. It lasts longer that way. Now you have a couple of options with butter. You can make a cultured butter where you put 2 tablespoons of live yogurt in the cream before you make it. Let it sit for 10 hours, so like overnight. And that gives you a more robust flavor butter, and it also will give you, and it will last longer. It'll have a longer shelf life. It is because it's fermented, and fermented things have a longer shelf life. The other thing that you can do is make what's called a compound butter. And so that's what we're going to do right here. And I'm going to make, I'm going to put herbs in it. And the herbs that I'm going to put in are garlic and onion and parsley. And so that's going to be really good on potatoes. It'll be really good on meat. It'll be great on, like toasted garlic bread. It is, and all you do is you add the herbs that you want, and then mix it up. So it's more like kneading than it is stirring, because it's more of a solid. And you want to get it mixed pretty thoroughly, otherwise you'll have big clumps of garlic and then clumps of nothing. Now, in the process, I've also squeezed out more buttermilk. So, there's my compound butter. Now, you could do this with, you could put honey in there. You could put fruits in there. You could put maple syrup in there. And I know I've had, I don't even know where I had it, but I had cornbread with honey butter. And boy, that was really amazing. So, this is how you make butter and mayonnaise. Pretty easy. I don't think we've been here, but we've been here less than a half an hour, and we made both. So, easy to do if you have a few extra minutes, and then there's no preservatives. You know it's healthy. You know what you put in it. If you put organic herbs and organic cream, you've got some real good food there. We will be doing, on Monday, elderberry syrup. And on Wednesday, we're going to make purple dead nettle salve for injuries on your, your legs and your arms and stuff like that. It's time to get in the garden, and that means, for me, that, the blackberries are going to beat me up a little bit, and so this will go on the blackberry stings from that. I harvested the dead nettles yesterday in my yard. And so they're drying so that we can go ahead and start the process to make a salve. If you have any questions, please put them on the here on the board, and I will answer them just as soon as I clean up here. And I will be putting first thing in the morning, well, no, that's not true. First thing in the afternoon, at noon, I will put the recipes on this page as well. It's easier to do it from my computer than my phone. So, but if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you so very much for joining me, and have a great day.